Hello, my fellow bow tie friends. We're going to do a watercolor project today of a tropical plant called the hibiscus. Now, you may have seen some of these if you've traveled someplace warm, and you may have even seen some here locally. They come in a variety of color combinations, just like you and me, and as you can see here, just like you and me, each and every one is unique. Now for your supplies today, you're going to need a piece of watercolor paper. I've taped this to a board. You can tape it to a table, a desk, anything that will hold it flat because you're going to be getting it wet and they tend to curl. You're also going to need some watercolors. Besides watercolors, you need a pencil. I know we're doing watercolor, but you need a pencil to draw your hibiscus first, and you need a pretty good eraser in order to make any corrections that you may need to do. You'll also need some water and just enough time to do your artwork. Now, let's go ahead and get started. Now remember, at any time you can pause the video or you can go back to make any corrections you need. Let's get started. All right, I'm gonna position my paper so that it is this way, lengthwise. I'm gonna go ahead and start, and I'm gonna do the outline of the main flower down here towards the bottom. I wanna make sure I use the most use of my paper. Okay, so I'm going to start this one here. I'm going to do a diagonal line, kind of curves just a little. I'm going to do a line that comes up and intersects through the first line, kind of making an X here with one line bigger than the other. From there, I'm going to branch out of the middle and come straight up. Kind of looks like a K now with a tail going back, so it's a backwards K essentially. From there, that's going to be my main flower. Now I'm going to do one that has not blossomed yet. I'm going to do a V up here. That's going to give me the outline of where that part's going to go. And I'm going to do one that's partially open up here. I'm going to make this one look like a big seagull. A big seagull in the distance. Okay, that's going to be part one. As I come back now, remember you can pause your video at any time. I'm going to add to each of these. I'm going to take the one that is not blossomed yet, and I'm going to add another line coming out over here. I'm going to go over to the seagull looking one, and I'm going to add some lines coming up out of there. This is the one that's partially blossomed. I'm going to put kind of like chicken feet on this one. Come right up through the middle. Went a little far, that's why it's important to write light. I'm trying to write a little bit darker so you can see here though. Now I'm going to come down to my main one. I'm going to branch off of there, kind of like chicken feet as well. Branch out to the side, do the outlines of where I'm going to be drawing the rest of my flower. I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to do a leg over. So now it kind of looks like a stick man running. Got a stick figure here running. I'm going to erase anything that I drew a little bit too big. I'm going to come right out, just a little bit up towards the middle more. Come straight up. Not as far as the other one. I'm going to curve just a little bit. This is going to be the stamen of the flower. When you're studying flowers, it's important to know the stamen and what that does. Now I'm going to come back. I'm going to go back onto the main part of the flower, and from here I'm going to come up. I've got my guidelines, and I'm going to do the actual petal of the flower. Now all I'm doing is combining each of the lines back to the other one. I'm going to come up off of that one. It's behind there just a little bit. And I'm going to come all the way around. And they do have wavy lines on them. You can make yours as wavy as you'd like. Just don't do a straight line. Come back up off of there. This petal's behind that one as well. I'm going to come and attach it down to there. As you can see, it's becoming a flower quite nicely now. I'm going to draw another one that comes up over, so that one's behind there as well. Now I can erase those other lines as I made that one a little bit bigger. It's a great thing about a pencil is you can erase your mistakes. Come over to this other line. I'm going to combine it over to the other one. And mine's a pretty jagged flower. It's got some really nice curves on this flower petal. Now I'm going to finish attaching that last one there. Now I'm going to go back up to my unblossomed part of my flower. It's going to come up and over, kind of like a V, and touch up at the top. So you got almost a perfect triangle. I'm going to put a line there where you can see it opens up. Erase my guideline there. I'm going to come over to the one that is partially blossomed. Again, I'm going to attach the petals up and over. Have it come up off of the middle here. A little bit of waves. And the final one. Now that I've got those parts, I'm going to put where the vines come out that attach to the flower. It's going to be a little Y with some curvature to it, almost like a cursive Y. I almost forgot. There's one more thing you're going to need for this art project. Now, it's the most important tool in an artist's bag of tricks. Now, what is it? What is the most important tool for an artist? Go ahead and shout it out. Let me hear. Oh, paintbrush. No, we covered that. All right. Doesn't seem like you're getting it. Can you believe that the tool we're going to need now is a paper clip? That's right, a paper clip. Now, this isn't to poke your neighbor or to clip papers together. This paper clip is going to be used for something very special on this specific plant. All right, let's see how we're going to use that. All right, we're going to take that paper clip and we're going to bend it so that we have a straight end, like so. What we're going to do with that straight end is we're going to start near the stamen on each of the petals, and we are going to drag it down all the way to the very tip of the petal. Now this is going to put the veins into our flower when we start doing the watercolor. I'm going to branch off of that a couple times. Now I'm not going to do too many. I've done too many in the past and then it just looks like a whole bunch of lines. I'm going to do this. I'm going to branch off a couple times, maybe 2, I would say 3 max off of each vein. I'm going to speed it up here. Now remember, you can always pause the video. You can always go back and replay the video, but I'm going to speed it up here because this does take quite a bit of time. Now that I've got all the lines on there, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lighten up some of my pencil marks because watercolor doesn't tend to cover up the pencil marks all the way. So I'm going to lighten up all of my lines here that I drew that are not going to be covered at the end. Now you really only need to do the inside part of the flower on here. I did the outside as well, but you really need to just focus on the inside part. And you'll find out later why we don't need to really worry about this outside part as much. Again, if you need more time, remember you can always pause the video. You can always go back and replay parts of the video as well. And once I'm done with doing my erasing, I'm going to go ahead and get my paintbrush, dip it in water. I'm going to work on one petal at a time. One petal at a time. And this is so my colors don't blend so much or run so much into the other petal. I'm going to outline and go over that entire flower with water, wetting my paper. Just going to keep dipping it into the cool water, going over that particular petal until that whole petal is covered before I start my color. Make sure you cover the entire petal. And once I've covered that entire petal, it will now be time to open my watercolors. Once I've got my watercolors open, I'm going to do this one in red. And now you're going to see what those lines did. I'm going to have to add a little bit more water into my paint. Now as I start, I'm going to start at the base where it hooks to the stamen. And I'm going to pull up. Pull up. I'm going to go over those lines that I did. Now, I didn't press too hard on those lines, as you can see. I didn't go all the way through the paper. But as I'm putting that paint on there, you can see how the paint collects into those veins that I drew with my paper clip. Now, it is darker towards the base, so I'm going to put more paint towards the base, towards the stamen, and then I'm going to drag it to the very edge of each and every one of these petals. Now, I am going to do this in fast motion, so if you need more time, of course, remember you can always pause the video, you can always come back as well. I'm going to keep adding more paint, a little bit more water, making sure that I keep my paint wet. And I'm always dragging out from the beginning by the stamen all the way to the end. You can see how the paint catches in those lines that you drew with your paper clip. I'm going to speed it up a little bit more here because you're going to do the same thing repeated on each and every one of those petals. Again, you can always pause, you can always go back. I do like to go over with watercolors, you do put multiple layers in order for it to show up. Notice every time I am starting from next to the stamen each and every time. Stamen, I'm going to do a different color so that it shows up. I'm going to outline each petal just a little bit, add a little bit more darker down and go over each of those veins again just so they show up a little bit more. I'm going to give it a little chance to dry, and I'm going to work on the other parts. Now you can, on the one that hasn't opened at all, you can do the whole thing in that color, or you can do it all in green, whichever you choose. Draw my vines going into each of those. Go back over one last time. Alright, once we've got it all painted, now this is why it didn't matter if you went out of the lines at all. We're going to take some black acrylic paint now. Now you may already have some ready. I didn't put this in the description at the first, but I like to go over on my watercolors and go all around my flower. Again, I'm going to speed this part up, but remember you can always pause and you can always go back. I'm going to outline the entire flower, then the inside part is going to really pop out here.
And now you have your very own watercolor hibiscus. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, share this video, post in the comments some of your examples of your watercolor, and we'll see you next time for some more fun art.